I was wrong. Flowey is not just a side character in Indie Cross. He may be the most dangerous and powerful character in Episode 3. He will manipulate Shovel Knight and Zagreus. He will completely push Charlotte and the Doctor out of the picture. And he will break Indie Cross. And here's why. To understand how he will do this, first we need to remember who Flowey is. Flowey is Asriel, the son of the king before he was murdered by a bunch of humans and his dust was sprayed onto a flower injected with determination. He awoke in a garden, unable to feel emotions, soulless, but with a newfound power. With the determination in his body, he could use it for low-tier time travel / control. He used this power at first to make friends with everyone. That got boring. So he went on his own genocide route, killing everyone he came across until he met the multiversal cheater himself, Sans, and couldn't get by him. But then he waits a bit too long and Frisk falls into the underground, and his motives change. Now that there are 7 souls in the underground, he can finally become God. One small thing though, he can't save anymore. So he painfully watches as you become the main character of the story, so he can steal the spotlight right before you get your happy ending. While the cast is distracted, Flowey steals the souls and with that power steals all the souls in the underground, making him absolute. He has unfathomable power of universal ending attacks that he constantly uses on you. But by the power of determination and your save file that doesn't even exist anymore, you overcome him and save the monsters from the underground. So, seeing all of this, having 3 villains between Shovel Knight and Zagreus is too much for how complex of a character Flowey is, so I think it's very possible we won't be seeing the Doctor or Charlotte up against Shovel Knight and Zagreus. Flowey base form is already pretty strong, able to lift elevators and challenge the likes of his mom and Undyne the Undying, as he should have canonically defeated both of them in his genocide route. Crisscross even calculated this for me. Flowey's undodgeable attack does more damage than Undyne the Undying, which was an opponent Genocide Frisk was evenly matched against. Not to mention, without Frisk in the picture, Flowey has full control over the timeline, and we already know what his motives are. He just wants to become more and more powerful. He wants to become God. And with full realization that there is a multiversal power struggle out there, he will try to claim a stake in it. So, to get this power, it seems he is going to be using Shovel Knight and Zagreus and manipulate both of them like he did to Papyrus. Which, I have to say, isn't the best track record, but he did manipulate Frisk into thinking there was a happier ending, when in reality you were just falling right into his hands, and we can see in Deltarune what Papyrus is without his artificial ego. He will make them believe he's just a nice friendly guy helping them find a way out for nothing in return. But remember, he should still have complete control over the timeline, so if he fails and they find an exit portal and leave, he should just be able to reset. So I think this power will come to him in 2 ways, and this seems to be the less likely way since it makes him too powerful. The requirements of this form are 6 human souls and it gives him the power to manipulate the game itself, with 6 separate game files he has on your deck. Even with the help of the souls, Frisk's attacks are not useless against him and his attacks kill you in like 9 shots, no matter how much LV you have, and he can put lots of objects on the screen. This would just be too much for Shovel Knight and Zagreus to handle, no matter how many gods Zagreus calls to his aid. Whenever Flowey gets too low, he can just load a save and continue. To get the human souls, they would have to traverse the whole underground, something the runtime for the episode just doesn't have time for. It's only themed around Waterfall, so it should be assumed they'll only be staying in Waterfall. This would work a bit more if the Nightmare form was nerfed for Flowey's sake, because Nightmare forms allow the user to do any doable feat from their realm, meaning the Nightmare form should be consistent with how strong the verse is. But I'm hoping Moro will just let the Undertale verse slide and no timeline ending attacks. With this new established idea of his Nightmare form, this would be a lot better for Shovel Knight and Zagreus, as all they would have to do is try to endure the attacks to survive until Flowey overheats, making him vulnerable. Flowey here would try and summon everything he could in his Photoshop form, but would end up wasting too much power like Afton did, bringing all the animatronics, and he would be defeated, marking the end of episode 3. So, laying all of this evidence down, what I think will happen in episode 3 is Flowey, Shovel Knight, and Zagreus will team up and traverse Waterfall, looking for a way out. But the moment they find a portal that is quite a bit away from them and it gives Flowey a nightmare form, he will turn on them immediately since he is soulless and power hungry. And once he realizes there is more to this universe than just his world, he will try and get there after attempting to kill Zagreus and Shovel Knight. He will fail, of course, but it will be a pretty close and climactic fight, and Shovel Knight and Zagreus will spare him and he won't understand why, and then he will run away. While all of this is happening, Charlotte and the Doctor will be somewhere else, plotting no doubt. Because in this picture we have of Charlotte and the Doctor meeting, there is no actual blue glow, so they're probably not in Waterfall. I've seen a lot of comments theorizing that V1 is the thing Charlotte lured to the rogues, which, giving it some actual thought, is the only thing she could have been talking about. So yes, V1 is Charlotte's fault and it's all going according to their plan. And it's safe to say now that the Doctor probably wants a nightmare form of his own, and that's why he's helping Charlotte to get back as powerful as she was in episode 1. She needs the Doctor to steal Godot, and the Doctor needs her to give him a nightmare form once she regains her power in episode 1. They both need power and they can both use the other person to get it. This now reframes V1 less like a killing machine and more like a controlled tool, one to use against Charlotte's enemies, which would actually make him a villain rather than an anti-hero. Yes, I suppose it's good that we're getting the rogues out of here, but the enemy of my enemy is my friend, and Charlotte happens to be the big bad, so next episode's V1 plot will be messy. We need the rest of those rogues alive to fight Charlotte if she has already gained her episode 1 state, since Moro said she needs exactly 2 rogues to regain that episode 1 state, and we don't have a single character in the cast who could stand up to that if Frisk couldn't. So in conclusion, Flowey will become the most powerful character in Indie Cross episode 3 via nightmare form, and Shovel Knight and Zagreus will have to use some miracle to beat him, but they will, and we will continue on in the series into episode 4. So if you liked this video, subscribe, because it will give you more great Indie Cross theories, power scaling, and reactions about this wonderful show. And also, please consider joining my Discord if you want to interact with some of me and my fans, link is in the description. So yeah, comment if you think a nightmare form Flowey would be stronger than V1, and have a wonderful day.